podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah.
I'm mad.
Yeah, thank you. And today we have a subject for you today dealing with AI. Just how do you feel about AI, or how do we feel about AI? Do we feel like AI is going to take over? Do you like it? You don't like it? Some perks to it. We're just gonna get right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Sure.
What is your feeling of AI? Do you love it? Your experience of it so far?
Well, first, before I talk about that,
Okay.
I just want to talk about the elephant in the room with these shades on. Like the lights in here is blinding me. So I'm kind of old. So I don't want y'all to come at me. I ain't trying to look cool. Just I'm a little blinded right now.
He's trying to look cool.
No. But yeah. So
Nah.
back to AI. I'm not really stressed about it. Like I know some people is like, oh, they're gonna take all the jobs. They're gonna take over. It's gonna be iRobot. The world coming to an end. Yeah, it's a lot of fear of AI. I think it's interesting the time frame that we live in, or the time frame we grew up in, because it's like we kind of grew up in when I guess AI, we kind of like somewhat saw like the beginnings of it,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. I'm not really worried about it. I think there are a lot of convenience to a lot of stuff, like a lot of like just being able to like like the online shopping, the convenience of it all. Even though like we were talking about it earlier, how I think both of us kind of prefer to actually go to some stores and try certain things on, especially with my dimensions. Like my dimensions, I just can't just assume that certain outfits gonna fit.
Yeah.
So, I would rather go to the store. But there's a lot of convenience with the AI as far as like paying bills, shopping, that's just pretty much everything. So I'm not really worried about it, but I appreciate it. I have respect for it. But I'm not stressed. I'm not living in fear of it. How about you?
My experience, I like it and I don't like it at the same time. It depends on what it is. Like if it's just something quick, hey, pay your bill, press this button, great. I don't want to talk to no person just to, tell me to pay because they're going to try to sell you something.
That's true. Yeah.
Hey, would you like to try our new? No,
Yeah.
I just want to. I mean, they do try to sneak that in there at the beginning. They try to say, hey, we're the fastest growing, whatever they're saying. But if it's something simple, press a button, the self-checkout stuff, I like that. I guess you could consider that AI. I just don't. I think that with self-checkout, they should just make it cheaper. Cheap. You know what I'm saying? You should make your groceries cheap because you're doing a job of somebody. They had the Walmart.
That's an interesting perspective.
Walmart had to hire a person before to bag your groceries. Now you're bagging your own groceries, checking it out.
How about they just give us $1 rate? They hiring us. Just for that moment. What they start off with like $13,000-$14 an hour. They just give us that $13. And we can use that towards our groceries.
I wish. I just don't think they would do that. That's why I'm like, they probably take some. I mean, they ain't gonna do that neither. But because people are just doing it for free anyway. No. But I like it because I don't. Sometimes you don't. I don't know. It's just that awkwardness. You're sitting there, someone ringing up your groceries. Now they want to have a small talk conversation with you and stuff. But I don't like it as taking people's jobs too. So it's kind of like it's oxymoron. I guess that's an oxymoron.
I'll let you have it.
All right, yeah. But because it takes away a job that someone normally would have. So I don't like that part. But I do like, as a person that don't really care to interact a lot of times, I do like that aspect of it because you're not dealing with a person that may be have an attitude that day. You can just get your thing and it's not going to give you it's not going to give you an attitude or whatever. I just, I like that part about it. But like you said, I do like going in, trying clothes on and, going in and out of a store, physically seeing things and stuff like that versus going online. And, even when you're doing the automated stuff where, like I said, they don't want you to talk to somebody. they want you to talk to their artificial intelligence, and it's not helping at all. Unplug your thing and wait 5 seconds. And after you do that, press 1 when you're ready to go to the next step. It's like, no, I need to talk to a person because it's going to walk you step by step through something you've probably already did. And then it's not going to fix the situation. I could talk to a person, hey, I just need someone to come out and do this. I don't want the back and forth, try to unplug. I did all that.
I talk about it from time to time. So I'm like in the banking world now, and we mentioned it earlier where I'm transitioning from one bank to another as far as working, and for like the interview process, it was my first time ever having an AI interview situation. I really enjoyed it, because it's like, now I didn't really get too deep into this when I was talking to you about it earlier, but you kind of mentioned something that made me think about this. But when it came to like the AI interview, I didn't really feel like I had to like be performative. Like I just had to give out the facts. And you'd be surprised how performative an interview is, because it's really like, trying to win a person over. So you got to have personality. You have to make them laugh. You got to, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of emotions in it. And but you can have like all the experience, all the, the best articulation of like, all the things. But if you don't have the personality, you don't make them laugh, you don't do a little joke or whatever. Like if they don't like you, you're not gonna get the job. And that's crazy, because you can be overly qualified, super qualified for this position. And so it was refreshing just, seeing factually my experience, what I, do. And with this AI interview, like there were certain things where the AI was like, could you go a little deeper on that? I was like, okay, AI. I was like, whoa. AI would ask me to go a little deeper on it. I was like, okay, well, and, but yeah. And I got my next interview because like, it was facts. Like clearly I'm already working at a bank. So it's not like I'm just somebody who don't have like banking experience. So it's like, I have the credentials. The job before last, I was working at another financial institution. So it's like factually and physically, I have the evidence of proof that I have the experience. Yeah. But it's like with these other jobs where you actually have to talk to a person in person, in person interview. You got to win them over. And yes, I didn't think about that till like something you had mentioned earlier, as far as like how you think you would like a AI interview. Yeah, because it's like it takes that emotion out. Yeah. So I do like that.
I think that especially stuff like that, like where humans will, there's biases that people have. There may be racism or whatever it is. That you can kind of, it's still that within technology, because if you type something into an algorithm, it may bring up something that may be offensive to somebody. Like remember, they was like Google, they typed in something that had to do like with a car, and it was like a black person stole a car. It would then it just automatically spit out something that offended somebody. But it's really just going by the data that it's given. Whereas versus you talk to a person, it might be like, I don't like his shirt, or I don't like the way he said that one thing. It's not doing that. It's going just by the data that's given. So now you don't have to deal with this person did he not hire me because I was, this or that. Now, I don't know what's happening on the back end, though. Like you did the you did the AI interview. And then does someone get a recording of the interview? Like they see your face, they see, is it getting passed to a person where they actually now go sit down like, I don't like, because at that point, then it's like, well, then throw all of what I just said out the window, because there's still a person that's going to be like, I don't really, but if it is that part where it's just taking in the information you're giving it, making a determination on that, then because like if your credentials stack up, like then what else is there? Like I've always like, that's why I feel like if you give me the job, because I think interviews are stupid. There's certain stuff you can get from an interview, but it's really like on the job. Yeah. that you're going to be able to show. Because there's people that'll get a job just off an interview. They did really good in the interview, and then they get there and they're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, that's true. Some people know how to like really sell themselves very well. Yeah,
they're very charismatic. Yeah, they're very charismatic, and they remember they've been through a lot of interviews, so they know what to say and all this other stuff. And then they'll get in, and they'll be like, but the place is falling apart because they don't actually know the physical part, like that stuff that you actually got to do to run a situation, whatever. Yeah, but yeah.
I would say I'm more pro AI. I'm just gonna come out from the gate. Like I said, especially like like I said, working in finance, like, cause like it shouldn't be so many people at the bank, like. The bank I work at, it be looking like a Black Friday sale. Like people be like, the line be out the door. Like it's no reason for all these people to be at a bank because probably about 90% or more of the things that you can do inside a bank, you can do at home on an app. So, so I do like the AI. My last interview, that I had for the job I'm about to start tomorrow. The branch manager asked me a question I thought was very interesting that I never been asked before the interview. She asked me, do I use the app? Am I banking with them already, and do I use the app? And I said, yeah. She was like, so which features of the app do you like? I said, oh my God, I've never been asked that. I love the question though, because it was like one of those questions where it really, like it just really threw me off a little bit, but I loved it because like you get familiar with like some of the questions people ask when you go to interview, especially at our age. Like we had so many jobs, and so it really had me thinking. But it's like it was sincere because I gave them a situation where I wanted to apply for a credit card, and so I was like, I'm just gonna do it on the app. And I decided to do it when I was getting some chicken. I was in this restaurant, and I was getting some food to go. And as I was waiting for my food, I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can apply for a credit card real quick. I don't know why my mind thought like that. So I went through the app, applied for the credit card, got approved before my chicken came. It was so convenient, but you'd be surprised at how many people come inside a bank to apply for a credit card. And when you go into a bank to do it, it can take a while. It could take a minute. Like sometimes, especially if there's other people waiting, if there's limited people that's able to assist, and even the process is longer, to actually do it step by step, because we have to key everything in. Whereas when you do on the app, since the app already has your information, everything auto populates. And so you practically all they got to do is make sure everything is still correct and then hit submit or something. Like it's so easy. It takes seconds, but it's a lot of stuff just like that when it comes to like AI, where it just makes things so seamless. Like you can apply for a mortgage while you're in the bed. You know what I'm saying? But back in the day, in our time growing up, like you got to go to a bank, you got to like sell it, like I can afford it. I got a good job. I've been working there for this amount of years, You gotta have to sell yourself, but now it's like you don't even have to see a person. You don't have to lie or try to do all this extra stuff to get this loan or whatever. You just put your information in, and the computer, the AI system, is gonna tell you if you're approving that. So I am pro AI. But my question to you, because and I mentioned it earlier in the beginning. Are you like concerned about like employment or the future of your, being employed and stuff like that because of AI?
Yeah, I mostly always work physical. I'm a physical guy. I more so now I'm on the computer a lot all day, but I like manual labor.
Okay.
But yeah, I do feel like it's gonna take over, like even your situation, your job. Customer service situation, like even you being pro, it's kind of like, well, like I said, it's that I said oxymoron. I may be using the wrong word, but it's like a pro and a con.
Yeah.
Because you like it. It is good stuff to it, but then it's like it could take your job away. And then I like the physical part as far as I don't really like dealing with people, but I can understand why somebody would go to a bank just because, or go physically there just because there's stuff that you might have questions to. Like, you know, you can't do it on the app, but you can't ask it like, hey, I did have this one question where it's like, I have this thing that, you know, whatever it is, you know, you could, you know, can talk to a person. Oh no, you know, we deal with that all the, you know, they can be answered at that moment in time that if you did it on the app, you can't ask the question. Now you could go to the help, you know, like that little, now that nowadays they have this little box to the side that you could ask a question. But even when they do that, it's like, it don't answer the question properly. It's not like it gives you something. It'll direct you to another page to get the information, you know. So sometimes talking to an actual person, you can kind of get more in depth of like what they're looking for and stuff like that when you're applying for something, you know. Some people don't care sometimes also because it'd be like some fine print that you didn't think of when the AI gave it to you. Like, you know, if you're, so for instance, like if you go in and like rent something off of a website or whatever, or you're gonna sign up for like a contract type situation where it's like telling you the price, it's telling you like, okay, your payments are gonna be da 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 da, and you're doing this online, there might be a hidden thing in there that you're not aware of. When you press submit and then you get a bill, you're like, what, this thing says it's this much, and you're like, I didn't. Well, yeah, because it's this extra thing that's when you're in front of somebody, you can sit there and like, hey, well, hold on. When you say this, what does that mean? Like when you can, you know, it's more conversation and they could probably be like, okay, yeah, so it's this. And you're like, okay, now I don't want that. Versus they're like, just, you know, on the website, it's kind of set up to where they want you to get through it quick and fast. They don't really want you to, you know, they really just want you to be like, click, 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 click. You know, they don't want you to be like, hold on, let me. And people like that because it's fast. Like you said, it's fast, it's convenient. You're in your bed, you know, whatever it is. So people may be more likely to not read and do all the stuff that they need to do to make sure that they're signing the document or, you know, right or whatever it is. So I think the face-to-face situation, you might be like, hey, you know, I had a question. Like if I did this or if I did that, it'd be something that's may not be just the interaction might trigger something because you're having a conversation with a person. So when they're describing and this, you know, giving you a description of what you're about to do, you're like, well, so when you say that, whereas AI, if it's just a thing, you're just like, click the next button.
Yeah, that's true.
Next. And you'll be like, yeah. And then it asks you for your information, your banking stuff. You click. And then it's, you know, it's just that. And then the older you are, you might still be in that space of where you're not familiar with AI like that. You know, you're having problems just navigating the website to get to where you need to get to. Some of the terminologies that they're mentioning and stuff, like especially like contracts for banking and stuff, you may not be aware of what that terminology is. They're talking about your escrow account, and you're like, what's an escrow? You know, and they don't have that on there. It just says that probably on there, and they're like, that's a question I need to ask a person. Now, if you're sitting next to somebody that is familiar with the term, then you could be like, okay, you know, that's what this is. But not everybody has that person. So that's where I'm at. I like I'm a big tech guy. I do like a lot of tech, but
you do.
But it's just there's certain parts of it that malfunctions on at times. You're not sure. Like we were just talking about just recently, like with the with the channel or whatever. Like I thought I did something and it didn't go through. So it's kind of like it's supposed to have it. I didn't get it. You know, now we're trying to figure out what happened with it. And there's, you know, stuff that shuts down on periodically. It's not functioning right. There's lawsuits that come about because people experience on there. Maybe it gave them the wrong information or, you know. Well, so, you know, that's my experience with it, you know.
I'm just not worried about like my future. Well, you know,
about my future.
Well, because of AI, I'm not. You know, I don't worry about my future, but I'm not like, oh, AI is gonna. You know, I feel like. I feel a lot of things actually. I feel like the people our age and older. I don't know, like some of the stuff, the advances that as far as like it getting to the point where AI is taking over like most jobs, it'll probably be in the next generation, in my opinion, like completely. If it gets to that point. So I think we probably are fine. Maybe, but not children. But they might, be in the iRobot situation. But because I remember, like we thought that by the time it got to like the 2000s, it's gonna be like the Jetsons. Like we definitely not there. But anyway, I'm just not worried because of the human element. Where since we're not perfect, and so our products are not perfect. It is faulty, and so we can make something that's really well. But if it's like a computer type situation, mechanical situation, like it's gonna need repairs. It's gonna it's just always gonna need somebody there to fix something. I remember when I used to work at I out Walmart, and it used to be like I'm sure some Walmart still use it, but because we used to work at Target and we used to unload the truck. So at Walmart they got truck unloaders, and so they got this machine this AI that now unloads the truck. So people don't have to do it. So it took away a whole team of people pretty much.
Yeah.
But the machine always breaks down, and it costs so much money to replace it, you know what I'm saying, or to fix it all the time. So there's certain Walmarts who went back and, that would just go and use their team again or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. Then I remember one time when they did like this experiment. I don't know if you heard about it, where like they had like a hotel ran by robots.
No.
And they did like this experiment, and what happened was, like, I guess people were just complaining about the robots because it's like there is something that there's always a human element that people require or need. And what you alluded to or mentioned, when it comes to like, sometimes like you have questions or whatever. So if you call the phone, and of course the first person you're gonna talk to is AI, and you just keep hitting 0 because you want to speak to a representative because like AI is only giving you like a few options, but your question is something beyond the options that AI is providing.
Yeah.
So there's always gonna be like a human element that's needed. And like you said, like again, working in the bank, there's a lot of people still. I thought, in my opinion, at one point there was like most like a older situation, but it's people all ages who just are not comfortable with AI, and so they need to speak to an actual person. And me as a person who work in the bank, we encourage people to use the tools because sometimes it's not enough of us to handle like certain specialties, but people are just like, no, they don't want to do it. So there's a lot of pushback. And so in my opinion, I feel like it's always going to be a need for people, regardless of how much AI progresses.
Yeah. See, that's why I go into my my conspiracy bag.
Okay. It's always one every episode, but what's the conspiracy this time?
My conspiracy bag. I think that if they don't care about the human element, not you, the corporation.
Yeah.
They're about making money. So if everybody does it, regardless, you see how many stuff this service is just trash anyway. They don't care. If that's the only one available, you're going to have to use it. That's just what you're going to have to do. It's no, like I was telling you, like the bigger companies, they don't actually have a call line anymore. Is you go to their thing, you type it into your question to the thing, and then it's supposed to give you the information. So it's kind of getting to the point where they control your situation. So the future is, for me, what I see is that it's not based upon making sure that you as a human being has a job or whatever it is. If they feel like, hey, we want to you see what's happening with Meta and all these tech places, they're laying off thousands of people because that department is not needed anymore. In the customer service, you see like in the film industry, like they're creating these AI generated people and scenes and stuff, and you see like there'd be like a famous actress or actor, and you're thinking this is AI. It looks real enough that you're like, whoa, that's AI. You see, I know it's like it's going around, like it's a lot of stuff that we thought, well, like you said, we would like, Jetsons. We think like, but the thing with the Jetsons was it was so far fetched. Cars flying and stuff like that. We didn't see nothing flying. Whereas now we actually do see a robot walking around, picking a box up, folding clothes, doing things like that. So it's speeding up. It's a lot faster versus back then. When they said the Jetsons, it was just people living in the sky, like, you know, and they're in these flying cars and robots were, and we didn't see that stuff. There's no robots. We didn't see no person live. We'd seen skyscrapers, but I'm saying the Jetsons' house looked like they were just floating in the air somewhere. This stuff we're actually seeing, and you know, like how fast within our time, you know, we're millennials, so we've seen the progression. Like I remember from the Nokia phones, those big looking cell phones with the button with no touch screen or anything on it, to smartphones, and then now we got phones doing AI. You can shoot video. You got a camera on your phone. You can do work on your phone. You can do all that stuff on your phone. To now, it's like they got robots. They got self-driving cars. Like some of this stuff is just happening so fast. And a lot of it is because now we have AI. So it's like stuff that you wouldn't know. Now you can just be like, hey, ask an AI and they'll just give you the question quick. You know, they're talking about these, I don't know if you've heard of these, I was about to say, I forgot the name of the computer, but it's this computer chip that they've made that can solve a problem that would have took forever to solve, and they can solve it within like in minutes or something like that. That's a thing now. So now you can just ask that thing, and it's getting to the point where now it's like a security risk as far as nations and stuff, because if you have something that's that smart to find out, break a code or whatever it is that fast, now we have to have something to counteract that, because now all your secrets and everything that, you know, if someone had that technology, was stopping them from opening up all of your nations, whatever.
That's true.
So it's just me, I always kind of live in a space of like, what the worst thing that could happen. You know, like we think of it as like, you know, people, you know, why would they get rid of all these people? But then, you know, when you think about the people that's all the way at the top, like you said with the Walmart situation, they don't have to pay an hourly, like whatever they would pay for to fix the robot will be probably all 5 of those people that would have took to unload that truck yearly rate. So they would get $50,000 each, you know, for the year. This is probably one of their, you know, whatever they would have been paying them just to fix the robot. They don't have to pay hourly. The robot doesn't get sick. It doesn't call in. It doesn't show up late. It's there on time. It's, you know, and that's what they're thinking about. They're not thinking about the human element. They're not thinking like, oh, you know, what about the people at the bottom? And they don't care.
Yeah.
They're looking at, they need to buy our product. Now, that's the other part, is that what's going to happen once that happens? You get rid of a lot of people. Who's buying your products?
That's true.
Who's bringing money to your business if you get rid of so many people and all these services that would have required a person, and that's where they made their money, and that's how you got your money from these people, was that they were making, you know, they worked at a job. How do you now get there? And that's where you get this universal income, where people, they talk about just, you know, well, we'll just give a universal, but that kind of defeats the purpose. Why couldn't you have just did that from the beginning? We don't have to work, but I think at this point, I think they're trying to get robots and everything ready and all this stuff. So they still need the human element.
So, I was thinking, I mean to cut you off, I was thinking a conversation I had with one of your brothers. I ain't gonna say his name because, you know, we'll have to pay him.
You have to pay him.
Have to pay him. But he reminded me of an episode of Black Mirror. Do you watch Black Mirror?
No.
Okay, so it was one episode. It wasn't my favorite episode. I did see it, but I guess it was like an AI situation where AI is kind of controlling everything. It took over all the jobs. And so the people that, you know, that was around still, they had to, every day, their version of work was getting on this, like, it looked like a
treadmill.
It wasn't like a treadmill, but like a bike, like the bike, the bikes they have at the gym. And they just powered the AI. So they did it all day long. It was a whole bunch of people, and that's all they did, you know, throughout the day or whatever. And so your brother was like, yeah, you know, I think that might, you know, that might be like what we might have to do. But regardless of which, I don't think we're gonna be on some treadmills or whatever, some bikes, but I do feel like, at the worst, in my mind, that jobs will kind of change, as far as like the type of jobs. For me, I don't really think it's the fact that I think there's certain jobs that people have now. Yeah, you can already see that those jobs are being taken, but I think as AI progress, like the type of jobs that's going to be, put out there that's going to be needed is going to change. And so I think that it would kind of behoove everybody to welcome change a bit, because it's like it might make you have to kind of change your mentality as far as like what we could be like, your profession, where you go to school, college for, or a trade, or just like your comfort. So I do feel like that is going to people are not going to like it, but I feel like it will be easy on people if they embrace those changes better, because it's going to come regardless. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not worried. I do feel like jobs are going to change, because I can kind of see it now, where there's other different types of jobs, as a person who's always, looking to see what's out there, because I follow the money. So I'm always trying to see what's out there, what's going on. And, you can kind of see like there's things that's, different positions, different things is out there. But I'm just not worried. Cause yeah, but I understand other people who are, but I don't know. God is real, so I feel like with God, like if you like you'll be fine,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that no, I think that the human element is huge. I just think that they're not gonna think about us once they start chopping and doing what they're doing. Yeah, but yeah, but that that normally comes with the territory. I mean, I hope that they, we're not running on treadmills and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I think, of course, there'll be another transition. They're not just gonna have us. Well, I mean, there's always just pros and cons with it, because if robots and AI take over, doing all of the jobs we were doing before, then you got all the other things that they do now that we don't like. If that makes sense, that humans, they can do probably perfect and humans can't. So I don't know if you see these flock cameras everywhere, the cameras that got posted up in the parking lots. I like it, because I'm not a criminal. I don't do anything, but
no more.
But it's also those cameras that when you're driving and you get to a construction zone, and then it's like you slow your speed to a particular thing, and then you get one of those things in the mail because it caught you going a certain speed. Like, police be already harassing us a little bit, but imagine something that is like, it got your picture. It got the speed that you were going.
Yeah.
And, because the police ain't catching everybody, but that thing be blip, 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 blip. It be like, catching everybody. Now you have that, then you just got the areas that may have the most of that in it. So, those cameras just sitting around in your neighborhood, now you got video, or I don't know if it's video or it's just a picture taken of like, you coming and going places and stuff like that. It'd be hard to dispute things, Not to say, I mean, if you're not doing anything criminal, but everything, like, even to me, I don't feel like everything is criminal. But I think they can make $1 from it, so they'll just make it into something. So the situation with the camera, like, you might be speeding a little bit, just like 5 miles over, and you're gonna have to pay a fee, the $100 ticket, because So now it's like where you might have gotten away with that because you might have been running late somewhere, but I don't know, because I don't know what the future's gonna look like. It could be if you're not working. A lot of times people are just trying to get to work on time, and then they catch us that way. But if you're like me, I don't really be leaving the house. I won't have, if I'm not going to work, they ain't gonna catch me on the camera doing that because I'm gonna be, but
Homie.
you just don't know what will still be there. You don't know how good the AI is going to be for us versus it just being good for the people at the top, the government, to keep us in line in a situation where it's like, we have the human element where there are people that are more compassionate to situation. I understand, I have met good cops that have like, I understand, you wasn't, you're on your way to work, but just slow down. It's just a warning. I'm not going to give you any, I've run into those.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas dad ain't going to do that. It's just going to be like, here, pay the fee or go to court. And that's it, or something your order's wrong or whatever. You get the order wrong because, Amazon does a lot of AI taking orders and stuff like that. And you still get the wrong package.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to wait another week or however long. You got to dispute the situation, like show proof that, hey, you sent me the wrong thing, and they still get it wrong. Now, especially when it gets to situations like doctors and stuff like that, like if they got a robot doing a surgery on a person,
Mm-hmm.
You can't, you don't have a person that might be more sympathetic or see mistake or, other people's eyes on it or something. I mean, I think that maybe in those situations, maybe like there still might be a doctor there or something. Like you said, there might be positions, but for the majority of the positions is like a lot of people at the bottom are getting cut.
Mm.
So I get what you're saying. Like, there will still be people elements because like, trucking, I was doing trucking for a little bit and they're getting to the point where the autonomous driving trucks or where there's kind of like, there might be a driver in there, but he's just sitting there like this with his hands on the wheel, not on the wheel, but kind of like just in case the truck kind of veers off or something like that. But are they going to pay you the same amount? Because now you're not doing as much.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there monitoring the thing or whatever it is. So it's just, you just don't know what's going to be good, what's going to be bad, how it's going to benefit you, and if it is going to benefit you, because the people that's coming up with the technology and the ideas and why they're trying to make it a thing is for money. But then if you take away people that give you the money, then how does that benefit them? So there's always like what we talk about with the roof. When we were talking about the finance thing on the other pod, people can build products that don't ever break, but we build them that way just so that you have to buy more. Will they create a situation of where they could do something where we don't ever have to do it, but then they make it to where it's beneficial to them, their company, their situation. Or they're not looking at us saying like, we want to make sure that no one has to work and what I'm saying? You hope that's what people are thinking about, but a lot of these people are really thinking about how they can have some level of power over you. So that's the dangerous part, that I think about with AI,
And there's one more subject that I wanted to discuss before we, end the conversation. This one subject probably could be a podcast in itself, to be honest. It's definitely left, but it's still in the AI category. So, recently I've been being sent videos from various people on the subject.
I'm scared about this.
On the subject of like, robot companions.
Oh yeah, I figured that's probably where you were going.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about that?
Robot companions?
Yeah, like the robots that, because if you look it up, they're trying to make these robots. Stop laughing. I'm trying to be serious.
Okay.
So they making these robots that look like real people, real eyes, real hair, and they look like real people, and they can, are, I guess if you the type of man that want, something more domesticated, I guess. I don't know if that's safe to say. Somebody, just do all those things, and, something that you can Uchiwali with too. I dated myself.
Uchiwali.
Yeah, I definitely dated myself on that. So it's like, what's your thoughts on it? I think well, I'll let you go first.
Go ahead.
I think the world's coming to an end if that happens. Like if they actually got these out and they at Walmart for $1,200 whatever a pop.
You financing
a
it.
pop.
Yeah.
And
A pop, literally.
Yeah. The world's coming to an end. It's gonna be civil unrest. It's not gonna be any more kids being made because I'm telling you, everybody's gonna get one of these robots.
Yeah.
They're gonna act like they don't have it. They're gonna be like, no, but secretly they bought one. They're gonna Amazon it or whatever, to their house. But if it gets to that point where it's like these movies that's out now with these like realistic they had one robot movie that I saw the advertisement on Netflix or whatever with Megan Fox. She was the robot. Now if they made robots that look like Megan Fox, the world's coming to an end. Like civilization is gonna die out.
I don't know about
it's gonna
Megan
die
Fox.
out.
I don't
But
know about
anyway,
Megan Fox.
yeah.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, it can be a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing just because there's just people at this moment in time that are a lonely person.
Yeah, true.
Like especially I think the lonely epidemic for men is different than the lonely epidemic for women.
Mm-hmm.
So there's people that try on a regular basis to be with somebody, but they don't make enough money or they're not tall enough and all this other stuff that people have criteria on. So I think it'll be good for those type of people because there's a lot of those people out there. There's an industry full of these people. You know what I'm talking about. So more the adult side of things because they don't have the intimacy that they need or whatever. So I don't think I think it can be bad because we're already in a space where they talk about our replacement rate is low. Like we're not producing enough children to replace the older generation because everybody is like, the generations have changed, there's women are kind of moving into the workforce more. So they're pushing back having children, sometimes not even having them at all to pursue a career. And they are one of the vital elements to our existence is women having children. And if you either say I'm not having children at all, or I don't want to be a mother, or I don't want to be a housemaker, a homemaker, then it becomes a scenario where we don't have children, then we don't have another generation to replace the next. And I feel like that's where AI comes in, I guess, in that fact, because then we can just put the workers that they can't be replaced with people. You could put robots there, but it doesn't help the human race because then we still eventually will die off in a sense because there wouldn't be a replacement for us to you're not having children. So it's not like you have, another son or daughter that come and they'll have sons and daughters and, it'll get to a point where we just kind of just have robots doing everything. And the companion aspect of it, it becomes a scenario where we have people that don't interact with one another anymore. It's kind of we're just, why even deal with this person if I can just, just get a robot and do all the things, especially for men, because we, a lot of men don't require a lot at all. It's just, we come home, food's made, blah, 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 done.
Yeah.
We don't really require the communicate. I mean, people like the communication, and it's not just men. It's women that prefer to just come home to a quiet house and just relax and stuff too. But I think it's probably more dominant on the male side where we don't require like someone to talk to all the time and stuff like that. And so I think it could be a pro for those that are in that space that don't have the element of like someone there. And then there's the con where is that every guy, even if they have access, they're just like, I don't want to deal with the nagging and the blah, blah, blah.
Well, Well, so my question for you is, would you get you one of those robots?
I think I would.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I thought you're gonna lie. I was like, okay.
No,
I know you're not gonna lie.
No,
to my face.
I was.
I know you're not gonna lie to my face.
No, I was just thinking like more so depending. It's some factors involved, of course. It's that the cost.
Mm-hmm. If you pay a monthly price, you gotta pay the whole price.
Yeah, and then it's just like, is it necessary? Because it's still maintenance required. That's all this other stuff. I just I don't. I don't think I've ever been in a space where I'm just like I needed, I need something there all the time.
Yeah, but it's technology. Like
it's technology, turn on and turn off type scenario. But I'm just saying it's like the money aspect of it.
Yeah,
because
the practicality of it all.
Yeah, it comes down to money.
Are you going broke just to get this robot?
Yeah, I'm not doing all of that.
Slash
it's like,
whatever.
I'm not doing all that. Like a phone. Like phones are expensive.
Yeah.
But I'll still get an expensive phone just because I like the tech of it and stuff like that. But then it's like, how practical is it to have that phone? You know what I'm saying? Like, do I need the S Pen? Like, I don't need a stylus, but that's going to put it up. Do I need the extra terabyte of hard drive space? You know what I'm saying? I may not need, but it's just, but if you're just a person that needs that type of stuff, you need some companionship, then yeah. Because I think that there'll be supplemental things, like people can go to a place and rent one or something.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll be like buying a car. It'll be like
you got to read the Carfax. What did they do with this? What did they do with this robot? They read the Carfax on it.
Because you got people that, the people that just, it's the industry for that too.
Yeah.
And that's probably more dirtier than
of course.
Because you can, clean the thing,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You ain't got to worry about the certain things happening to you from, I mean, maybe you do certain stuff. It's no real thing for that. But either way, I just feel like,
yeah.
with that situation, I don't think, I think it'll be good, and I think it'll definitely be bad. I think we always think about all the good stuff that can happen with everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, oh man, we're starting a new job. We're gonna get this. We got the benefits of it. You're not thinking about like the hours you gotta have to work, the people yelling and screaming at you. You're just thinking of all the good things that can happen. So there's definitely all this negative stuff that you probably just ain't thinking about.
I'm thinking about like the personality too, because I think initially when we think about like back in the day when we thought about robots, it's just like very like mathematical. They'll just answer questions.
Hello, what is your name?
But now, like if you talk to like the chat GPT, what it was called, or whatever, little things like it's a thing people have on their phones that be advertised. Like you could just like talk
have
to it,
yeah.
be like, tell me, a story or whatever. Like, it just like they have personality now. It's crazy. So I talked to, I think one of my friends was the first person who was telling me about all the things he was asking chat about, and so like he's really into fashion. And so he'll like, and chat remembers stuff, remember like old conversations or whatever. So he'll like put an outfit out and he'll be like, Chad, does this outfit look good? Does it match? And Chad be like, yes, it look good. It'd be encouraging, like, and you can dress too, by the way.
Nah.
You ever thought about being a model? Like this is what Chad said. You ever thought about like modeling or being into the fashion world? And I'm like, okay, Chad, like Chad's encouraging.
Yeah.
I was talking to Chad the other day because, recently, I ain't tell you the story, but recently, I found out I got diabetes. And so I went to Chat. I was like, well, Chat, what can I do, to get, in control of my diabetes and stuff like that. And Chat was like giving me a whole bunch of generic thing. And then it was like, hold up, what's your A1C? And my A1C is embarrassing. I'm going to say that here because, it's okay. It's embarrassing. I'm getting it under control. But, it's a 16. Now, mind you, if at a 7 or 8, that's when you have diabetes. So that's to give you like a scope of how horrible my diabetes is.
Okay.
So the A1C is. So I said 16. Chap was like, first you need to check yourself into the hospital before we even go any further. You need to go to the hospital.
Call 911 right now.
I was done. It told me before we even talk about diet plans, you need to go to the hospital.
But worried about you.
But then after that, it was so encouraging. It was just like, it was like, but don't worry about it. People turn that number around all the time, so don't feel. Even though that number is definitely high, that's what chat's saying. It's definitely high. People turn that number, around all the time, so don't be discouraged and things like that. Was okay, chat. Like it was saying stuff that my people's around me ain't even saying. Like I was kind of like, okay, made me feel good about it, whatever. But so yeah, I'm definitely getting on that robot too. So I didn't answer that. Yeah, I would definitely get one. But because I definitely don't like to wash dishes. Even though I got a dish. Even though I do have a dishwasher. Which whoever made that needs to get like a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. I'm just lazy. I would just be having that thing just do all kinds of stuff. Definitely cleaning my gutters. Cause I have never, I got high ceilings. Like I'm not getting up there. Like that thing would be doing all kinds of stuff. But yeah. What was you about to say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was about to say like that part about it. Cause we had a conversation before on another episode where I was just talking about the delusion that people have. And not saying with your situation, just I could see because it's being encouraging, it's, and it doesn't have a personality. So that means like it's basically programmed to be encouraging in a sense. Like, and see how you took it. You say, oh, but that's where we are right now. We're at the echo chamber of people that we get into the space where we get into groups of people that think the same. And so you never really hear an outside perspective. And then you start to believe that what you're saying, what those people are saying is true. And it may not be true. It's just that you're always around it. Yeah. And so with that is like, you say it remembers things. It, it knows you to an extent. Like it can say, oh, you can be a fashion. I don't know if chat knows what he looks like. I don't know what he looks like neither, but I'm just saying the fashion. Yeah. But then the way he looks physically might be like, your shape is weird or whatever, and where a person would tell you that the system is kind of programmed to tell you a flattering thing about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Cause I don't know the guy, but let's say like you didn't like the fashion stuff that he dresses like, but chat's telling him something different. It's kind of like that person that's, oh yeah, you look good. And really you don't. They're just trying to be nice. And then you go out looking crazy. Because like, I remember I was eating something at a break one time, and I was, I ate in the car, so I came back in. I walked past, I went through security. I went talked to a few different people to get into the building. I go in front of somebody I'm cool with at the job. Hey man, you got something on your face, and it was a lot of it too. I'm like, I done talked to 5 different people, and they just let me walk by without saying, hey, you got. I had to see somebody I was cool with to be like, hey man, you got something on your face. So why didn't those other people say anything? And it kind of just puts you in a space of like, we'll be in a space where no one can be ever told the truth, in a sense, unless you said like, I want you to be on. And I think there are prompts that you can give, stuff like that. Those chat bots where you say, always be honest with me or something like that. And they'll be like, okay, they'll always kind of feed you honesty instead of giving you some thing. And that's why I feel like I would want that part, because with that, I do feel like that's probably where I would like a companion situation. Because if you get feedback, honest feedback, it doesn't like you're not embarrassed about telling an individual versus telling a robot something. Like this person is not a person. This is a thing. You can, like you said, ask an embarrassed question about like your medical situation, and not have to feel like he's going to laugh at you or have an opinion, be judging you in some sort of way when you walk, oh, that guy, he got this. You don't have to worry about judgmental stuff that happens. And then also that thing going back and telling everybody else, hey, guess what? You don't have to worry about that with an artificial intelligence. Now, I don't know if it gets to the point where they're learning. And so being around people, they might develop that to where they go around and start talking to other chat things or whatever. And then now that thing has it. I don't know. See, that's the stuff that we don't think about. It's like how the other reverse could happen. Like you're telling it all this stuff, and over time it gets to the point where it starts to learn human behavior and sees how humans go gossip and stuff, and then it starts telling. And those things don't never forget. Because humans might be like, oh, I don't remember what you said. No, I remember. He said, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, hey, shut up. Like, you're giving all this stuff your information anyway. And it was all, especially depending on how much you're using it for, what you're using it for. Like with me, I use chat, but I don't use it for anything personal. I always kind of just ask it, to come up with a description for something. I had it do a resume or something for me or whatever, but I don't never tell it like I'm not having conversations.
You should. It's interesting.
It might be interesting, but I don't see the point in it. I know people, you would assume that I'm super lonely and I need someone to talk. I never thought about talking to a robot.
Well, no, I wouldn't say like from the lonely aspect of it, but just for like
an opinion or whatever.
Yeah, because like, like sometimes like we are quick to go to Google, but like when you speak to chat, like say for example, you want to take a girl out or whatever, or you want to go to a restaurant and you're in like another location or whatever, and you trying to figure out like what's a good restaurant or what in the area. So a lot of times people go to Google, but when you like ask that same question to chat would break it down for you. Like, what are you looking for? What type of vibe? Or what it's asking a whole bunch of like it's literally trying to generate the perfect location for you, and that's not something that you can get like that on Google. And that's one thing I like about it. So I would say like use it like you would use Google. To sometimes we have a question like I want to Google this, I want to Google that. Like the chat breaks things down for you, and it will ask good questions to really specialize whatever you try to do, but for you. And that's what I like about it. I use it a lot when I used to visit one of my friends who lived in Raleigh. Because a lot of times when I get over there, we'll be like trying to be out in these streets, and so we'll be like we'll like put in the chat, because like sometimes we put in Google like good bars or good what's the spaces, what's the spots or whatever, and you have to look at reviews, you got to read stuff, but chat will ask questions like what's your vibe, like what are you trying to do, and are you, and I don't know, like it just really formulates a really good situation. I really had some really good nights from chat. Yeah. So,
I think that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Practical stuff like that. I'm talking about like having a conversation.
No, that's
I'm not
weird.
Trying to talk to it about a situation.
About your life. You depressed.
Yeah,
I'm depressed. I think I'm about to
Jeremiah is a terrible friend.
I gotta be me.
What type of person would do such a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What should I say to? How should I go about physically assaulting him?
Okay.
And then it gives me a few different variations of how to go about doing it. And then, I could choose from, a few different actions. I can, I don't have to, but I'll really stress to the point, like, no, I really want to physically attack this guy. And then it'll give me,
But see, chat might ask you questions like, can you even fight? Like, what's Jeremiah's skill set? Is he a black belt?
No.
You might want to figure it out before you go any further.
I definitely will put that in there that he's very, very docile. He can't do anything. He's not strong at it. He told me the other day he can't lift that much. He's never fought a person in his life. He told me about this one time he got jumped in school. Yeah, so I don't think that he's really that much of a threat. I just want to, just one good time, just, what's the best way, and it would just break it down,
And then it might ask you, like, do Jeremiah got, goon squad, they got,
he might ask that question.
Yeah.
It could.
Because Jeremiah may have, this hypothetical Jeremiah, may have a goon squad, so it's like,
Yeah, you
wouldn't be smart.
You never know. But I'm not worried about the.
But I think that you should definitely use it.
But I don't use chat for that type of stuff. That was a hypothetical. If it ever had it, if that ever popped into my mind or anything, But I don't use chat for stuff like that. I use it for mostly stuff that it's just help me get through this project thing I'm doing.
Okay.
But I do think that there are people, because I press the mic thing. No, it's the mic. Yeah, it's the mic one. You press the mic, then it'll start talking to you. And I don't really like that.
Yeah, I'll do.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I just rather type.
I don't
want you
like
to talk
it.
to
It's
me.
ask me questions. I don't like that. Like when it did it by accident, I thought it was like, because you press the mic on Google, it'll be like, it just doesn't say anything. It's just waiting for you to tell it something. On there, it started talking to me, and off rip, I was like, nah, turn that off.
Yeah,
that
that
right
tracks
there
for you. Yeah,
it just.
Yeah.
Now there are like the Meta glasses. They they have like voices. You can change it to different voices of actors and stuff like that you can choose, and it's more pleasant. And they'll probably just ask you a question. They'll tell you like how what the percentages on the thing. It'll tell you like if you ask it a question like, hey, what is the square root of something, and they'll be like, oh, it's blah 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 blah. That's cool, but I don't like it having a conversation with me. That part, the conversation back. Like if we're having like talking right now, and we're doing a podcast, and that should be an episode we should have like just here,
talking to the AI.
Talking to AI, he's kind of chiming in whenever, asking it questions.
That could be part B.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be terrible.
Whoa, what you mean? You just said that. That could be part B of this conversation.
I was just joking though. I wasn't serious.
Oh yeah, that'd be our third person.
Yeah, we could try it out, but
we could have like a fake dummy type person. Like we can create a
and just
a fake
put a
person.
Phone in there or something to say,
like this thing talking to everybody.
Yeah, but I think you got to pay for that though. Because it got to a point where I asked it a few different things in one day, and it was like, all right, if you want to ask
it just
it
didn't like you.
No, it was like, if you want
us to talk to you any further, you have to pay us.
If you want any more, you're going to have to pay for the thing. I was like,
just not likable. The
AI
don't
was
like
free.
you.
I mean, it is free, but it's like up to a certain point.
Yeah, because up to a certain point, they can deal with the person that's talking to you.
No, that's not what it was.
Anyway, I think we should stop it here. I think so. Unless you have anything you want to add,
No, that was it.
Yeah, I
didn't like the aggressiveness. You was like, just cut me off.
I just want you to go any further.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want you to go no further. I'm almost concerned about my life.
We can definitely stop it here. So like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. We have another video for you. We drop a video once a week. I might even drop some of them shorts.
Okay. Sound good.
Yeah. So like and subscribe. Jeremiah will be Jeremiah.
But I don't know what that means. But okay. Yep.
And see you next time on Mike's podcast.